Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Iron Age Nights. I keep wanting to say a drink with crazy, but it is in fact Iron Age Nights, and we are here with a fantastic guest this evening who is getting ready to release his brand new book. However, before we get to that, before we get to my awesome co-hosts, we have to say hello to the chat, both from YouTube and locals. So, everybody, it's time to say hi. We have Zitro Lopez Irwin down there in the chat. We have a Wrangler. Hello, good sir. How are you? James Esparza is down there. Swift Sword Rush. Asher Brunert. How are you? Winter Hale. That's a new name. Hello. How are you? I love seeing new names down in the chat. Herman P. Hunters, the Lore Forge. Hello, good sir. Kikomon, he is down there. I don't know what he's saying.
Lies. He's spreading lies.
He's spamming some stuff. I have no idea what you're saying, Kikomon. Matt Hatter, 1776. Hello, good sir. I haven't seen you in a while. Brian McCoppin.
Hey, Brian.
McCoppin. Hi, Brian. Brian, you're new to the channel. Hi, Brian. How are you? Ron Leonzi, how are you? Raven Nevermore, how are you doing? Calvin Gulata, it's time to get the ban hammer. Calvin likes to bring the thought bots. He shows up with just like 4 under each arm and just walks in, and time to ban Calvin. And then Horizon Talker, hello. How is the chat this evening? We also have Catherine Francis over on locals. We have James Tape Dragon over on locals as well. And then we have Kikomon, gifted 5 A Drink with Crazy memberships to the channel for Ron Leonzi, Nikolai Powell, who is down there. Hail the Lore, Thorgoy, Marion Alien. That's fantastic. I'm so glad to see everybody getting memberships to the channel. Thank you so much, Kikomon. And for everybody out there, if you guys have decided that you want to chat in the YouTube chat, but when you send your super chats, you don't want Google to get get their take of it because it's quite large, I finally figured out a way for the people who were asking me how to get around that, and that is my locals chat, and it is live right now. So you go there, you click on the locals chat. You do have to become a member of my locals to do it. So you do have to support me on locals in order to join the locals live chat and send in the super chats that you want to. But that is the best way that I could figure it out. James Tape Damage over there says locals is great. You guys can say the F, and he literally just the F word here. I don't like saying it, but you can say it here. Darn it. Wow. That's
I'm gonna start reading the locals chat.
The locals chat gets a little insane. They were sharing like Trump AI memes last time. It was insane. The locals chat's crazy. So, and then that little dancing dinosaur tells me that something is happening. I think it's just like super chats or something. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Iron Age Nights number 7. Iron Age Nights, our goal here. I want to grow and be as large as Friday Night Tights one day with this show. And the reason that I say this is because while they're over there tearing down the old school media, the media that's destroyed the things that we love, we are over here building up the new media and building up the new creators, the new authors, the new video game developers, the new directors, and the people who are going to be sharing the new stories that hopefully we will be able to put into the hands of our kids, if not put into the hands of our kids today, possibly when they're like 16, James.
I did not market any of my books as children's books. books.
I know you didn't. And you told me, and I read, and I was just like, oh, like in the first like 4 paragraphs. It's not even a joke. But without any further ado, let's get over to my awesome co-host Richard from Iron Age Media. How are you doing, good sir?
I'm doing very well. I'm in a new location, as you may have noticed.
See, he went to the bunker.
I'm doing a vacation / camping outing, so I'm actually at my folks. They were watching the kids this week, so I'm hiding in the back hallway / stairwell / storage closet. So
awesome!
I knew it.
Yeah. Closet, stairwell, hallway.
Yes,
That's where Harry Potter grew up.
Yeah,
Mr. Daniel.
This is where my childhood began. No,
That's right. Mr. Daniel B. Riley. How are you doing, good sir?
I'm doing great. Having myself a drink.
Oh no.
Yeah, we're starting.
I think he got inspired by my birthday stream. That was.
Yep.
I heard my brain for like the first 4 hours the day after. What is that, good sir? What are you drinking? What is that?
A Glenlivet Founders Reserve.
Oh
yes.
Glenlivet is very nice.
All right. And we have a puppers on stream. Who is the puppers?
This is a 2-year-old pupper who is a COVID puppy that has anxiety issues, as many COVID puppies do.
Aww.
This one is River.
Hi, River.
She is a
Hi,
good
River.
girl.
Everybody say River in the chat.
Yes.
That goes for you people on locals too. River in the chat.
Gotta pet the doggo.
Yes.
It's a beautiful dog.
And our special guest this evening, who probably won't be on stream. He's just going to show the puppers. But I think most people would appreciate this. Mr. James Krake, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty well. I've spent this week trying to reach out to various communities because I've got a book releasing on Monday.
You do have a book releasing on Monday. Would it just so happen to be this book, good sir?
It would. You are the proud owner of the only other copy in physical existence right now.
Very nice.
That's way too much for me. Don't say that.
I've got more on order. I owe my beta readers a few copies.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Thank you for calling me a beta. That makes me feel wonderfully special. I appreciate it.
You're an advanced reader.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That's okay. That's what we call them now. Yeah. Okay. That's awesome.
Well, I can't exactly. If you find a major error, I can go back and change it because I'm a self-published author, but it's a bit late now.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
I haven't seen any major errors. There was like a spelling error or two, but that's to be expected with just books in general. I've seen major published authors have spelling errors, so
I put at least 3 in every book on purpose.
That's awesome. And where did it go? Why is it? And Kikomon for $2 says he's talking about my birthday stream. He says, don't fucking remind me because I can't remember. Yeah, he was also hammered too. That was a good night. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to talk with Mr. James Krake. And I said about the way that I was like, hey, about his new book, but we're also here to talk about his other books. And well, he is our special guest. So, and by the way, this is Infinite Money Glitch, and this goes out on Monday. Ladies and gentlemen, December 5th, Infinite Money Glitch. This is an absolutely fantastic read. I am about 4.5 chapters in. I'm a little bit of the way through the 5th chapter right now. And this is for all of the gamers out there who are looking for a sci-fi style, gamer-driven, gamer meme-filled book that has plenty of comedy in it and good characters. And I'm actually really enjoying the characters of the book. And I don't say that lightly because I'm fairly critical of things. I would for all the gamers out there, this Infinite Money Glitch, it's funny, and if you guys are gamers at all in any way, you'll get a lot of the references in here. So Yes, it's fantastic. So, without any further ado, Mr. James Krake, why don't you introduce yourself? You already introduced the puppers, but introduce yourself and give us a little bit of a backstory on what got you started on writing.
Backstory on writing would be like my entire life. I actually do have a little anecdote of I was like, I don't know, 8 years old, and I used to have a little weekly hobby of sitting on my grandfather's knee and telling him stories as an 8-year-old kid. And that kind of just never went away. There were phases of writing and not writing, but I always wanted to be an author, even though I ended up as an engineer, which now I'm a science fiction author, so that worked out. And then, you know, like a lot of people, the pandemic happened. I took stock of where I was with my life, and I was like, you know, I'm coming up on 30. Why haven't I pursued my dream?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that was also coinciding with this absolute collapse of Hollywood. And I got really fed up with people complaining about the state of entertainment. And so I decided to be the change I wanted to see. I started to write the stories in my head. I started taking the craft as seriously as I can. On Valentine's Day this year, I published my first book, which is a cyberpunk detective novel, which is still really good. And I've got the sequel of this coming out with beta readers. It's going to come out early next year. The sequel is probably my best book to date, which is probably a bad thing to be doing while I'm trying to sell Infinite Money Glitch. But I keep getting better, so that's a good thing.
No, I am actually really enjoying Infinite Money Glitch. It being your third novel, if I'm not mistaken.
It depends on if you count the web novels.
I don't know. Do you count them?
So I have conflicted feelings. The web novels are just kind of fun. I got a really good epic fantasy series going for free on Railroad. It doesn't go through the editing rigor that the books I release on Amazon do, so I have somewhat conflicted feelings about counting them. I have a goal of publishing 100 novels. And, you know, I figure that'll take me 25 years. And the question is, do I count the random stuff I throw up on the internet? Maybe, maybe not.
Interesting. There you go. Kikomon, by the way, gifted another 5 I Drink with Crazy memberships to Brian McCoppin, John Barry, How to Read Comics Like Verukowski. That's how you say that. Iron Age Media, you are now a member of my channel.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Means I'm the holdout now.
Was also gifted. No, my wife has not gotten the mead yet, Tim Allen. I apologize. Well, no, you know,
it was great.
Huh?
I had mead for Thanksgiving. It was great.
I have only had one mead in my life, and it was a homemade mead, and it was so damn sweet that I almost puked. It was bad. So that being said, so your goal is to publish everything, and I've spoken with you privately on Gilded, but something that you said to me that I want to touch on here is your accelerated timeline for how you're writing your novels and like what your plan is going forward, at least for the next 6 months to a year. And that's something that I haven't heard a lot of authors talk about, is just cranking out the stories, like, which I think to compete with some of the big storytellers out there isn't necessarily a bad thing. So one, talk about that plan, and two, tell me how the hell you're going to balance quality with quantity, because that could be a struggle.
So that is a very real struggle, because like even sitting here chatting now about Infinite Money Glitch, I'm sitting here going, maybe I could have made the last chapter a bit better, tweaked out a certain payoff a bit better. But I'm pretty sure that pretty much every book I'm always going to think about that. And especially with the improvement in my quality I've seen in the last 2.5 years of serious writing, The ways to improve a story, often you can't really fix it in editing. Like you almost need to completely start a story over, and then you kind of go, well, what's the point? I might as well just write another story. So I don't want to get myself hung up on releasing a perfect novel. If it's as good as I can get it, and it's worth the money, and it makes people laugh, and they like the characters, then I'll get it out there and I'll do better at the next one.
That's not a bad. That actually is not a bad mindset. And I go back to this a lot, but I look at some of the books that I read when I was a kid. Some of the more the classic detective style books. One of them, which I told Mr. Daniel P. Riley about, but the Boxcar Children. There's like 20 of those things, and the writer's name escapes me right now, but they just wrote and wrote and wrote and just kept going. And so it's not impossible. I mean, the Nancy Drew books, how many of those are there? Then you have the Hardy Boys. I mean, some of these older novelists out there definitely had the ability to crank out the storytelling, and some of them were better and some of them were worse, and I think it just had to do with the subject matter, the mystery of the mystery novels. And not detective, but the
Gertrude
mystery.
Chandler Warner.
Who?
Gertrude Chandler Warner.
Okay.
Boxcar Children.
I love the Boxcar Children. I still need to buy the box set here at the house. And here's the problem. If I buy it, I'm going to pick them up and I'm going to start reading them again. And then all of these awesome books that I have sitting to my left here, we're going to get put on the back burner if I buy the Boxcar Children. But it is
I got
possible
the first 6 on the Audible so I could just listen to them when I was doing other stuff and not take away from my reading time.
How did you enjoy them? Sorry,
they're fantastic.
Segue.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
I love the Boxcar Children. They're so good.
And giving me some great inspiration for the Crenshaw 5 when I get there.
Did I not tell you? I told you. I told you. When you described it to me, I was like, sir.
Yep.
No, but again, and I don't even know how many of those books I read. But so it is possible for authors and writers to come out and push and write and put multiple books out per year. And a lot of people don't have the stones to do it. Where do you get the stones from to do that?
So it's kind of monetary driven, because if you look at the successful indie authors, they're basically publishing 4 to 6 books a year. And a lot of them actually got their start by stockpiling like 10 books and then releasing them 1 month after the next. Because if you write one good book and that reader has 5 other books of yours to go buy, you'll get 3 or 4 other sales from that person, assuming they're good.
Yeah, both sales.
So you're getting like 5 times the sales per marketing once you have a bunch of books out. And then that gets you into the algorithm. So there's a well-known community called 20 Books to 50K. And there's a lot of resources there. And the fact of the matter is just like, you're not going to be a full-time author, which is my goal, until you've released like maybe at the lower end 10 novels. And you can probably bank on it around 20 novels. So the question is, how long do you take to get to 20 novels, right? Mm-hmm. And when my beta readers are happy to keep reading new books again and again and again of mine, because they keep volunteering and they keep going, well, I like your books, there's just kind of this constant influx of confidence that gives that just helps me push through. I write every single day, and I have 1,000 story ideas in my head, so it's not like I'm going to run out of those. And I want to get them all down before I croak. And even if I live to 200 years old, I might still have ideas that are nothing more than outlines.
So, and I do have to promote this. So I would like you to do me a favor and drop a link in the private chat here. But I was told that River, this darling black lab over here, River, every time that he gets a pre-sale of his new book, Infinite Money Glitch, this evening, River will get a treat. That is what I was told to tell the people. So if you guys love River and you love the doggo, and you also want to support James Krake, you will go over and you will support his book. I can drop his link, which is I'm just dropping your WordPress link here.
That
And I'm
definitely works. Let
so
me
I'm
try
gonna
and get
drop
that
the
for you
WordPress
if
link.
the dog isn't attacking me.
Well, no, that's fine. But every time that he gets a sale tonight, River gets a treat. So, ladies and
Let's get
gentlemen,
River some treats.
we need to get River some treats. We do.
I was going to say we need to be careful with this animal gimmick, though. I mean, we could next person to show up is going to have a kitten over a vat of acid that's slowly being lowered, and things could escalate quickly here.
I mean, you're not
Dark,
wrong, good
really
sir.
fast,
You're
Richard.
not wrong, good sir.
Well, there'd be one
all.
intermediate step where it's like, I'll adopt this kitten that's whatever, and then the next time they come on, the kitten's getting lowered. It's like every time.
Ladies and gentlemen, send money to save the kittens.
Reminds me of that old freaking animated website. I forget the name of it, but it had this like the frog in a blender that said a bunch of stuff when you pressed each of the speed buttons. It had a gerbil in a microwave that cussed you out every time you adjusted the temperature. And then there was one where it's just this big muscular guy holding a cat, and he was like, "No lick toad, Yerger punch kitty."
Oh no.
There were a lot of disturbing websites back in the early.
I miss Internet 1.0. Internet 1.0 was so fun.
Yeah, it was a wild place.
Dude, you would go from like the Toad videos to some like horrible snuff film.
Mm-hmm.
You're like 11 years old and you're like, what am I watching? It was horrible. It was not good on the psyche. Really quickly, Kikomon for $10 over on the local sites. It's James Krake. I loved Faceless. I will ask the rest in a DM. So
right on.
So
yeah, Kiko.
Brian McCoppin, I saw your comment on YouTube. That was the treat. She greatly appreciates it.
There we go.
Treat the pre-order place. Treat the dog. Oh, that dog is going to be so happy tonight. And yes, so just so everybody knows. So let's start off with.
Get us started.
I think so. Let's go here because I want to work up to Infinite Money Glitch because it's your newest release. And as always, we should save the climax for a little later. Maybe not the finale, but if you're married, you get that joke. I'm sorry, Richard. So anyway, let's start with your first book, which is Faceless, if I am not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Faceless. Now, I have not read it. I am not going to pretend to have read it because that would make me a terrible host, but I would like you to go through it and talk with us about how you came up with Faceless, the premise, and what made you want to write the style of stories that you're telling. Because if I'm not mistaken, you like to tell somewhat of mystery stories.
Somewhat, yeah. I do like to branch out. I'm a very eclectic reader. If you've ever seen my to-read list, got my December reading is Konosuba, followed by Siddhartha, Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles, and then Edmund Burke's Reflections on the Revolution in France. And my writing will reflect my reading. So Faceless actually came setting first, which is not a way I would ever recommend writing a story. But that's because... sorry?
That's hard.
Well, the way it happened for me was this was like my 5th or 7th novel in the same setting. And it's this mega city cyberpunk dystopia where everyone in North America has been crammed into one city, Judge Dredd style. It's like everything is a solid 80 stories tall because I was hugely inspired as a kid by Tsutomu Nihei's Blame series. Mega structures are awesome, man.
Yeah. I don't know them from the science fiction. I actually follow a science and futurism channel, and I know mega structures from that. So
yeah. So I over the years, like going back to college, I had developed this super crazy future where there's artificial intelligences and everyone has neural implants, and there's this horrible apocalypse that happened in the past that I always kind of skirt around. And it kind of got to the point where the setting itself was living rent free in my head. It had just taken a life of its own. And a couple of years ago, a published author kind of put the fire under me and said, if you want to establish yourself as an author, you should start with a murder mystery. Because it will become immediately obvious if you know how to, hold tension in a plot. So I said, I'm a good author. I can do that. And well, maybe it's not exactly a murder mystery. It's literally a murder mystery because the premise of Faceless is Detective Blackstone shows up to an apartment where someone has died. The problem is, despite all the government surveillance and artificial intelligence and everything interconnected and all that, the system doesn't know who this corpse is, which should not be possible. And from there, I kind of just followed the characters and through like this horrible ghetto of like people wasting away in computer cafes and so on. And just kind of played out the mystery of how did this guy get removed from the surveillance system. And because it's cyberpunk, I take some inspiration from recent politics, such as all the surveillance cameras going on in London, which isn't a hot button issue, but it is an interesting issue.
If you've actually looked into it, London actually has more cameras in it than China does per capita of people. It's absolutely insane what's going on over there.
Right. And, is that a good thing? There's some obvious pros where, you'll probably get an ambulance real fast if you need one. There's some obvious downsides. And that creates the kind of conflict that makes for an interesting story. And then I threw in a bunch of gamer stuff because the victim is a video game developer, and his game is a bit inspired by Minecraft because at the time I was kind of hooked on Minecraft speedrunning videos.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So I think the story worked out really well, though. And I don't really want to spoil it because it's a mystery if you get told who done it.
Yeah,
I can tell you it's a great setting. I think it's the new age of cyberpunk because it takes it out of the 80s and kind of modernizes the genre to still have a lot of the same technology, but to kind of update to what our current societal concerns are, rather than being stuck like Cyberpunk Edge Runners was. If you watched that anime,
that show was tough. I mean, beautifully executed in every way. I just cannot do the nihilism anymore. I think had we not had the decades worth of nihilistic storytelling, The Walking Dead, The Boys, what was it? It was there's a few other shows out there that I watched that were just hugely nihilistic. I think I could have really enjoyed Cyberpunk Edge Runners, but it's just everything is so dark and depressing now, and I'm just like, can I get some hope? Like just and that's what really took me out of it. But Cyberpunk Edge Runners just gorgeously executed, like in every way. The sound design, the voice acting, the animation. And then just the scenes themselves, just in every way. That show hit a 10 on every single mark. But for me, I just couldn't do the nihilistic storytelling, which brings me
spoilers.
With
Cyberpunk Edge Runners, not my books. I'm not spoiling my books. With the way they ended it, David learned nothing.
I know.
He rejected
I
his entire
know.
character arc.
I know.
Oh,
No,
man.
I know. That's one thing that made me so irritated is that and the problem is they set him up on this arc to potentially have learned something, and then in order to make him not learn anything, they just made him go insane.
Yep. So I don't do that. I hate that kind of doom or nihilism.
It was garbage. It was a garbage way to tell the story. It's like you had a strong beginning, a somewhat solid middle, especially with the time jump and the transition there in the middle. I was like, okay, where are we going? What are we doing? How are we doing this? And then the ending was just like, oh, okay, our character's just going to go back to the beginning. And not necessarily, not even go back to the beginning, but literally just never reach that pinnacle of character development the way that we were told that that he was going to. It was absolutely it was just bad. I just have issues with Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Yeah, I think that. Well, I was going to say I feel like that anime was sort of a. I was sort of surprised by how many people were crazy about it. Like, I heard all the hype about it, and I saw that it was from Cyberpunk, and I initially dismissed it, and then I heard good things, and I went back and I checked it out, and it was an interesting, like they did a very good job of making the setting interesting. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But
they did,
and visually it was well done, but. Yeah, it was very much like the final episode or two were just kind of like chopped in at the end. There's a friend of mine who was, she's very big into anime, and she was kind of complaining about all the people who were so hyped about it, and she was kind of like, there's a lot of other better ones that was way too short. I think it's 10. Is it 10 episodes?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So she was saying it had to be 13, and it probably should have been 20.
Could have been.
But I mean, I think that maybe you could have had a nihilistic take on things whenever, it was a little bit more original thing to do. And also, if you had a little bit more time to maybe show like a rise and fall character arc kind of thing. But none of it really, I didn't think that worked so well. But anyway, enough about Edge Runners. I don't want to.
No, we do, however, have an important $5 tip over on the local side from Frequency Studios. He says, I want to give River a treat, but I already pre-ordered last week. How can I make this happen for the awesome pooch?
There we go.
All right. And so River got another treat from Frequency Studios. Thank you so much for pre-ordering the book. Now, sir, I do have to say this. So I happen to have a friend of mine who sent me the book. Now, I didn't pre-order it, but is it possible that she can get a treat because a friend of mine sent this to me? No, is that not how this works?
I can do
that. There was no way you were gonna say no to that. Oh, there it is.
There we go.
Oh God!
Gotta make her work for it a little. It entertains her.
I know. No. Labs need that though. Labs need that excitement. Trust me. I've had like 4 of them in my lifetime. So they absolutely need that thing that excites them. So moving on, and I love that. I love that little side rant about Cyberpunk Edge Runners because that man, I saw so many people that I follow, the guys in like the Geeks and Gamers world and the Friday Night Tights world, and they're just like, it's such a great show. I love this show. It's so amazing. I love this show. And I watched the show and I'm like, did you guys watch the same thing that I watched? And but going past that, into your second novel, you get into Ship of Fools. What? There it is. Aha, he came prepared. Wait for it. I'm slow. There we go.
So this book is like impossible to market, or at least I'm too dumb to know how to market this book, even though I think it's really good and possibly the best I have out so far. I don't know how to summarize it briefly. I've sometimes said it's like Master Chief meets Lord of the Flies. The idea
What?
is,
I'm sorry. Hold on. It's like Master Chief meets Lord of the Flies.
doesn't make sense, does it?
Sir? All right, now you're going to have to sell me. What were you smoking? Did you hang out with Trippy Soul the night you wrote this book?
No. So that's probably a bad way to summarize it. Because what it is he's a Space Marine super soldier, is the main character, but he's in a situation where the ability to be violent solves no problems. He is stuck on an unarmed refugee ship in deep space waiting for rescue along with 1,000 other refugees. They don't have the weapons. They need to be rescued. And if they turn on the signal flare for distress too soon, the enemy ships will nuke them. So the conflict is all driven by, well, the captain is the only one who gets to see who's out there. So the captain is the one that has to decide, do I turn on the distress signal? And if the captain makes the wrong decision, everyone dies. So about 7 mutinies break out over the course of the book because there's just a complete breakdown of trust. And the only person on the ship who can't take command because of security protocols as a super soldier and all that is Ranger Marcus Maximus. And that's the crux of the conflict of that story. And what was on my mind at the time was a lot of the unrest in Brazil, which is coming to a new peak right now. I wrote it actually during January 6th, and so people upset with their government was on my mind. So when you read the book, it all makes sense. All the plotting and the tension and characters is all great. I just can't summarize it to save my life.
So, okay, so obviously we know what was on your mind. Did you take any inspiration for Ship of Fools from any authors? Were there any stories that were on your mind that you were like, oh, I like parts of this story and parts of that story, and I want to do it in my own way, but with these topics on my mind?
So stylistically, I'm actually a huge fanboy for Dan Abnett. He wrote the Eisenhorn trilogy for Warhammer 40K. Which is a surprisingly good take on like far future technology, but mystery and character drama and tension. I never would have imagined that Warhammer 40K could be as interesting as Dan Abnett made it. And I've had several other big Warhammer fanboys just crack open to a random page and go, "You like Dan Abnett, don't
you?" Now, was he the... No, I'm sorry. That wasn't the Warhammer 40K. I'm sorry. I apologize. Never mind. Nope. Racing that up from my memory. So sorry. I was listening to what you said, and I thought I knew where I was going to go in my mind. And my problem is I think about 10 sentences or sometimes paragraphs ahead. That's why I stumble over my words so damn much. And now I have to reel it back and figure out what the hell I was going to ask you next. So you go from Faceless, which is a cyberpunk style, to a sci-fi style. And now you are in a fantasy setting gamer world, which is Infinite Money Glitch. And I'm going to be honest, I've been thinking about this book, some of the things that you've said. You told me to let you know if you got me to laugh, and you did. And it took a minute because I like to joke with my friends that I murdered my sense of humor years ago. It was one of the best things that I did. Ask Convoy Bebop how hard it is to make me laugh from memes. How do you decide to jump around from various different settings of stories, or does that really not matter to you? Is the setting more so just kind of a placeholder, and you're just like, nope, I'm just going to write the characters, going to write the story, and then I'm just going to say, hey, it's in this setting, and let the reader fill in the rest?
So the bigger difference rather than setting is tone, because Infinite Money Glitch is my only comedy so far. It's very absurd. It's heavily character driven, but also kind of meta jokes and all that. And there's lots of scenes where like the immediate tension is for like ridiculous reasons. Like, oh, how I need to get very far away very quickly. How's the best way I can do that? And it's like, oh, how about a hyperspeed glitch? So changing, like people have a different way of talking the characters. When you're trying to be lighthearted and fast, and you know that the reader is there to have a good time, rather than like, oh, we're all going to die. So switching between those tones is a lot harder than like, oh, this is a far future. They're on this super heavy, hard sci-fi like The Expanse, which I was also reading at the time of Ship of Fools. All that versus everyone knows that we're in video game logic and we're going to abuse all the rules of the video game logic. I don't know. I just don't really struggle to change settings. Like my web novel is a full-on epic fantasy, and I will switch day to day. Sometimes in the same day, I'll be writing the hard sci-fi, and then I'll switch over to stabbing dragons to death.
No, and that and one of the things that I really do enjoy is having the ability to from day to day, because and it's something that I actually found is quite refreshing. Also absolutely terrifying. For me is I like having so many different styles of things in front of me to read. I am currently in the middle of 3 books that I have physically in my possession, and then a name I will not name, but somebody asked me to not proofread, but read and give thoughts and opinions on a draft of their book, and so I'm actually reading that as well. And what makes it so fun is that I like from day to day I actually have the different. Hold on one second. Sorry, I have children. And the children's, I was like, what is that noise? And why can I hear it? And I was like, oh.
Uh-oh.
So, but one of the things that I found that I enjoy is that day to day, I'll actually pick up a different book that I have and read a chapter or two from it's just a totally different author. One day I'm reading Brian Asher, who you guys have seen here. One day I'm reading Black Knight. One day I'm reading you. Another day I'm reading another author that again I won't name right now, who just asked me to read something, just sent me a PDF through email, and I'm reading that right now. And then I still have to get to so many more, but having that variety there and having that, how do you market that variety to your readers?
So what I'm going to try to do moving forward for that is just this week I uploaded a article on a Film Money Glitch of why I was inspired to write the story, because I know that most readers, they want to latch onto one series with one set of characters with one tone and setting, and they just want to dive in super hard on that. But I feel like if I just dog. She's attacking the treat bag.
Has anybody bought a book? Guys, if you want to feed River, you have to buy his book. River wants the treats.
I don't know. River might be taking it into their own paws there.
Where was I going with that? So most readers, they want to dive in on a series, and I do plan to write series. I just want to get 4 going at once to see which one takes off. Hedging my bets basically. But I also want to write standalones just as the creative exercise, because I'm writing for myself mostly. So what I'm doing is trying to write. Would you stop that? Oh, Kikamon, you're double dipping on previous purchases.
But it worked.
Yes, it did. So I wrote an article on like what was on my mind about like my past with MMOs and how I got so burned hard by World of Warcraft Classic. You remember that when that came out?
I do.
Yeah, sir, we're not allowed to talk about how old I am.
No, the re-release of World of Warcraft Classic.
Oh yeah, that was like a year ago. That's fine. We can talk about that.
That was like 2018, wasn't it?
Was it? No.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 years ago.
No, it was not.
Yeah, they're almost caught up with retail.
Was it really that? No, it couldn't have been that long ago.
Yeah,
it was that long ago, man.
Okay, so we're not allowed to talk about how old I am. Dude, wow, it would no, you suck.
So yeah, I had a very unfortunate time with that because I actually went out back to my college town with my buddies and we pulled an all-nighter for the launch date. And at midnight, we were all there with our computers and we were all queuing in, pressing the button to join. And they all got in at midnight and I didn't get in till like 4 a.m. and I was like 15 levels behind them. So I literally never got to quest with them because they didn't slow down for me. They were playing as much as they could, and I just could not catch up with these hardcore veterans. So what I'm planning to do is to share those kinds of anecdotes and the inspirations and why I think I wrote a good story with it, what I'm trying to communicate with it, and so on. Because we're kind of in an era of creator personality. There's a million books every year that come out. Some of them are probably even good. When a reader is looking for what to buy, they're not optimizing for the best possible book they could possibly read. If they did, they'd just be reading the Nobel Prize list, basically. And people don't do that. People want to follow creators they like Iron Age. They go buy Chad Brooks' book because they like Chad Brooks, not because it's the best epic fantasy they could possibly read.
Right.
So I want to establish that kind of rapport and say, well, I know you liked Faceless. I know that you enjoyed my gritty detective cyberpunk stuff, but this is also really good because I'm still the author. I still can do these things well. Won't you give me a try? And hopefully I can broaden some readers' tastes.
No, it sounds like you have at least an idea of what you would like to do to get readers drawn into your storytelling, and kind of going with the shotgun approach of, hey, I'm going to put some stuff out there, and if this one does really well, we'll lean into that one. If that one does really well, we'll lean into that one. I mean, hell, that's what YouTubers have done to get so many views and subscribers and things like that. I mean, it's the exact same thing. I do want to deviate to the chat for a moment here. Kikomon, I believe, has gifted 10 A Drink with Crazy memberships since the last time I have announced that. Wrangler, also known as Frequency Studios, is down in the chat gifting another 5 A Drink with Crazy memberships. So thank you guys so much for doing that. That is absolutely
crazy fantastic. Memberships everywhere.
A
Drink with Crazy memberships everywhere.
Dude, I know, they're like Oprah, and you get in A Drink with Crazy membership, and you get in a drink. And then over here, Kikomon for $10 on the locals side says, "Woo, James." How that hurt.
Okay, I need to address 2 things from the chat.
Okay.
No, we're not super chats. 1, Calvin Galata. No, I am not aware of podcasts on Fiverr looking for authors. Hook me up in Gilded, please.
See.
2, Horizon Talker. I do write short stories. I often don't know what to do with them. Is one problem. Although I do have one tentatively accepted for publication in an anthology. I'm just waiting for them to announce it before I say, "Hey, so and so accepted my book." That's urban, or not my book, my short story. What I'm doing in the interim until I get into more magazines and anthologies is my web novel is free. I mean, that's typically what I tell people. If you want a taste of what I write, go check out the first few chapters. The first 9 of my.
Is that available on your WordPress?
My WordPress has the first chapter of all 3 of my novels. At least it should.
All right. There it is right there in the chat.
I did that with Velo when it first came out.
I don't trust Amazon's ability to make Velo succeed. I think they made very obvious mistakes with Velo.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But it still worked as a place for me to put the first couple of chapters of each of my books and out for people to look at in one centrally located place that I didn't have to create a web page for.
Mm-hmm.
I completely understand the appeal. Unfortunately, there's like 1,000 good things to do to get the word out, but they're all like okay, not spectacular standout ways. You know?
I want to ask this question. I want to discuss somewhat very, very, very mild spoilers. Like what I considered mild spoilers. And as a person who doesn't give a damn about spoilers, I would like to discuss what made you choose to go with the perspective of the main what made you choose the main character and the perspective of that type of character in Infinite Money Glitch, being that character is an NPC in a video game. What made you choose that direction? Sorry, I said that as just about as vaguely as I could possibly say.
So the structure of the inspiration was the GameStop short squeeze. It was the idea of get this limited resource.
My mother followed that and thought it was awesome.
Yeah, that was a real David and Goliath, like
amazing.
A bunch of random apes that wouldn't let go of their holdings versus all of Wall Street almost bankrupted the entire system.
That was great.
And the narrative arc of so many people losing their freaking money on that. I thought there was just such resonance and meat to what happened there that I wanted that indignant frustration of a character who can see all this billions of dollars moving around and making people wealthy, but because he's an NPC, he's not allowed to participate until he finds an error, basically. And in the very beginning, in the first little Indiana Jones introduction plot, basically, he flukes into a mistake because he was doing something completely unrelated and caused a huge price spike on a material that he has. And that leads him into the rest of the plot, basically. And there's also just kind of some functional considerations. With him being an NPC, he can't leave the game. I get to set the entire story inside this fantastical world of golems and liches, and we're gonna have to go fight the Phoenix. We have to grind that to get his drops. But there's also like these crazy player characters that are in it for like cosplaying and speed running, and we're farming gold to sell for actual money. Being an NPC, I never have to go back to Earth, where it would make more sense to actually play out a lot of the plot if that was possible.
It's because I work for a living, Tim Allen.
You should know that, Tim Allen.
And also, he's the tutorial merchant. He's the first NPC that you meet and the first one you forget.
No, and and that was one thing that just like, so I'm gonna be honest. So I start reading, and again I'm in the middle of quite a few different reads right now, and I think I got your book, and I was trying to catch up with one book, and I made the mistake, and I've realized this now: never read two books in the same night, right? And it's not because I can't keep the story straight, because again, I have 4 different stories that I'm reading right now. I can keep all the stories straight. What's hard for me to do is switch gears from the tone and the speed at which the stories are going. And that doesn't necessarily mean fast or slow stories. It could be a range in between. But when you're reading, and so one of the things that really screwed with me, and I made the mistake when I picked up Infinite Money Glitch, is I was trying to read something else that somebody had sent me, and then I switched over to your book, and I just didn't get it right. And then so the next day I go, and the only thing that I read was was a chapter or two of Infinite Money Glitch. And as I started reading it, which also, by the way, James, I will credit you for this. Your book helped me read one book per day. I can read multiple books at the same time, but I can only put my focus on one per day so I can truly enjoy it. And when I started getting it, and I started understanding how you were telling the story from the NPC's character perspectives, and how you were setting up the world. And then I started thinking back on some, like, that very first scene in the book. You start with gamer memes literally from the first scene of the book. Like, and I said, and as I'm reading, I'm literally thinking back about those first few pages, and I start chuckling a little more, like, this motherfucker. Like, and gentlemen, Richard and Daniel, I would say this: Infinite Money Glitch is definitely one. You guys, I've already recommended it to one of my gamer friends because I was like, dude, like, seriously, I know, swear jar, Tim Allen. I know, okay? I'm not a saint, okay? But it was, I started thinking about it, and then I'm getting through the book, and I'm kind of thinking about it, and it's making me chuckle. And then there's this AFK character whose name you learn later. But the way that the AFK character's name was revealed, and it's in like chapter 3, made me belly laugh so hard. I was like, are you effing kidding me? Right? And it's just how it's done, and just how you made the characters function in that world was wonderful. I loved it because everything, especially once I got my head into the mind, because I didn't have it the first night, because again, I was reading somebody else's book, and so I was in a totally different mind space, and then tried to read your book, and it didn't work. But once I got into the mindset of, oh, this is an MMO, all of this crap I have seen happen in video games, and once that mindset was there, I'm having a blast with it at this point. Like, it's it's funny, definitely, and it's believable in the world of an MMO, and which is good, because that means you can be just as about ridiculous as you need to be, and your limitations are not. So I will say congratulations on actually picking that as the way to tell your story, because you obviously picked, one, something that you knew, and two, something that you knew you could have a lot of freedom with, and you could ask your readers to do a lot of buy-in. So thank you for that, because some stories, people will say, hey, I need you to buy in this much, and then when the writer gets there, they kind of screw it up, and you go, well, you asked me to buy in this much, and then you went this far. You come and you're like, all right, guys, we're going to buy in this much and just roll with me. And like, all right, I'm going to roll with you. And because you ask for so much in the beginning in the setting of the world of the MMO, I think that allowed you a lot of freedom to tell the story that you were going for.
I did have a blast writing it and constructing some incredibly ridiculous scenarios.
Stupid ridiculous.
So
that first scene, which I will lovingly call, no spoilers, but the bomb glitch.
You can spoil the first chapter, and it's fine.
Dude, it's So the main character is in his store because he's the entry level, the merchant character that you meet in the very beginning of the game. Some dude runs in, lays down some cash on the table and says, "Give me 2 bombs." And the merchant's like, "What for? Why would I give you bombs?" Because these are kind of like intelligent AIs, right? Which is what makes this game the most popular game in the world. And the character's like, "Give me bombs, give me bombs." And the character's just like spazzing out, but it's a player. Like, so it would be like me sitting there, like telling an AI, like, "Give me bombs, I want bombs." Like, and the guy's like, "What?" And so the player character then starts destroying the guy's shop. He's like, "Fine, here's the bomb." So the guy throws a bomb down in the middle of the merchant's shop and then pulls out a shield, holds the shield up, and the bomb goes off. And there's a glitch in the game, and it sends the guy sailing as like a super travel freaking glitch. And I think about that, and I'm like, that's how you start this. That's where we go. We start this with a freaking bomb glitch, and then I just see the look of just utter whoa on the main character's face, just like, I'm so tired of dealing with these asshats. It was great. That was such a great opening scene.
That is so great to hear.
How did you come up with that? I think about it and I just laugh because, again, I didn't get it when I read it. It wasn't until the next day when I had, I just went into your book because I was trying to read some of it to make sure that I was prepared for tonight, that I started thinking about that, and I didn't appreciate it until about a day later. How did you decide to write a book that's just this bombastic?
So that specific scene was Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time world record runs.
I had no idea. I knew that there were like grenade jumps and things like that in Halo.
I assumed as much when I heard bomb glitch.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never heard of that one, but
I forgot about that.
So to explain the Ocarina of Time glitch, gotta go fast. You can
For
beat
those
Ocarina
of you
Time
who
by
are
8
too
minutes.
young to remember Ocarina of Time, which, by the way, was on the N64. For those of you who don't know what the N64 is, that was what came before the PlayStation.
Well,
sir.
So I have a love for that particular glitch, and it's also like really good for narrative purposes because it's just like, well, travel time can be such a pain for telling stories sometimes, and by introducing hypersliding, oh boom, character is from A to B instantaneously. Doesn't work perfectly, but it works great, it's the kind of glitch that a lot of people will look at that and go, "That's from Ocarina of Time. I know what he's referencing. I got that reference." If you can get a reader,
I knew it came from somewhere, dude. But it's been a long time, and like I said, we're not allowed to talk about how old I am.
There's also a YouTube series called Viva La Dirt League.
Dude, I love Viva. That's a buddy of mine. Actually, the buddy who I recommended your book to introduced me to them.
Yeah, so they're hilarious. And
Yes.
I definitely may have possibly inadvertently stolen some of their jokes. They're old at this point. It's hard to remember. But the idea of an NPC merchant just getting harassed by players trying to complete their quest quickly, I just wanted to bring that in with a recognizable glitch that sets up a lot of future jokes. One of my huge inspirations is the late Terry Pratchett. Have you read any Discworld?
Yes. Yeah.
No, I was a movie guy. I prayed to
One of
God
my
and said, "God,
favorite
I'm not a
series.
reader. I want to read more books," but and now I talk to authors on my YouTube channel. I
There
literally
are
am
a
the
bunch
most
of
non-well-read.
movies based on Terry Pratchett Discworld books. I'll get you a list at some point.
Please do.
Discworld is 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And
Hi,
one thing Terry
River.
Pratchett does
River.
is he will tell a joke, and then he'll tell it again with a funnier punchline, and then he'll tell it again with a funnier punchline, and then he'll tell it a fourth time, and it's like how the heroes save the day is that same freaking joke. And the repeating of the humor just gets like exponentially better. I don't know if I got that good because he's probably unrivaled in the craft. I'm not that good, but I aspire to it.
No, but you have a goal, and again, there are a few more jokes in there. And again, the thing that you actually got the belly laugh out of me, that was later in the chapters, and I'm not going to give that away. But man, the reveal of that AFK character's name. I had to tell my wife about it, and she just looks at me and she goes, "Really?" I'm like, "Babe, you don't understand." And like it just because it's a gamer trope, and you did it well. And it's like, and he turns around, and the person challenging him is, and you're just like, that's hilarious. Because you've gone through which by the way, you did something there that not a Hollywood producers know how to do now, or Hollywood writers. You actually did something called setup and payoff in 3 chapters with this simple comedic joke. You literally set the joke up and then paid it off in that moment. And it was and I actually appreciate the fact that you appreciate setup and payoff.
Oh, it's critical.
Absolutely.
Richard, you I believe we're trying to chime in potentially.
I was curious. I was like, if it's like most MMO naming conventions, shall we say, I think I might know where this is going, but I'm curious to find out. I was just say, I was I didn't get an advanced
I'll
copy
send
of
it in the
book,
private chat because it's too funny, and I will send it in the private chat.
but I didn't get an advanced copy of the book, but I was reading the what I guess the back cover, the blurb on Amazon or whatever, and I was like, this sounds like a fun book. And there's some books that I just you can tell the author had fun reading or writing them, and so it's like, sometimes whenever people are shooting for like ultra serious and everything else, it's like, you want to like really slow down and be critical about this, that, and the other. But it's good to see you having fun and then also incorporating the key elements of good writing. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna have to check that out.
It's fun. It really is fun. I enjoy it. I the gamer stuff, and what's the funny thing is had this all happened years ago, I jumped out of the gaming world for a decade, from like the time I was like 16 till I was about 26 or so. And I kind of slowly started getting back into it because friends of mine, and it's a fun hobby. And I'm going to be honest, I have absolutely sacrificed time this week from reading books and stuff to be like, I need to zombie and I need to play some games and hang out with my boys. And then that's what so I'm more behind today than I was before, but I also understand that I need to not go insane. But I would not have understood what James sent to me a few years ago had I not gotten back into the gaming world because of my friends, and had I not really gone back and not only gotten into it because of my friends, but then gone back and like learned all of this crap that they're sending me. Because my friends are meme lords. That's all they are. That's all they do. That's all they want to do. They don't do anything else with their life. I think they have day jobs, maybe. I don't know. But they just memes. It's just I still have a Facebook because, well, that's where I got it. And it's just memes. And when and I know all of these references now because I went back and I watch gaming channels now that do histories of games, things like, sir, you're wearing white pants. What the hell?
We're
it is
supposed
well
to
after Labor Day,
pretend that
sir.
he's not
It's
there.
not white. It's just high saturation from the light. They're khaki.
I don't know.
Okay.
If
You're
you say
talking
so.
with that dude from State
I'm
Farm.
just
I had to
pretending
go get
he
another.
doesn't exist, and it's all River. River wrote Infinite Money Glitch. That
I'm
the
even
most
more
amazing
impressed
dog
now,
in the world.
actually.
I mean, I'm not an attractive woman, so when I'm on Twitter trying to get followers, I post dog pictures. So
That's the way to do it. That's
Fair
how you
enough.
get attractive women followers, actually.
oh, that works.
Oh, good Lord.
So one thing that you've been doing without necessarily realizing you're doing it is because this is a comedic book. By attesting that you're laughing to the book, you can't fake laughter.
Mm-mm.
You know that is like the most honest form of marketing that can happen for a book. I think is I'm telling people this is a funny book, and I'm having other people saying, "Yeah, I'm laughing hard at this book." And that's like the instant appeal of, well, why should you buy this book? Why should you give me the money and the time? Oh, it's because it's hilarious.
I will be right back. All right, I have to go upstairs. My wife is away, so send help. But I do need to go check on the children's. I will be back. Mr. Daniel P. Riley, Mr. Richard, please take over and make
Sounds
sure
good.
to get River lots of treats while I am gone.
By the way, Swift Sword Rush. I'll have to check out Doom Eternal. I've never actually finished Doom Eternal. I try not to watch games I plan to play, and Doom Eternal is definitely in my Steam to play list.
How long is your Steam to play list?
Oh, so next year I'm going to start a Twitch channel where I'm going to try and beat all the games I've bought.
Oh, geez.
That's keeping me busy for 5 years.
Yeah, no joke. Yeah, my Steam library is pretty atrocious, honestly. But I was also going to ask you the opinion piece that you put out on Iron Age Media this week about timelines and everything else. Have you gotten any feedback on that? I was going to say it seemed like I was gone while that was went live. So I saw mostly positive reactions. I also had kind of trouble sorting through Twitter because Raul Nyanzi tagged me in a Twitter thread that turned into a total, tweet storm there, and so I had like a bajillion mentions. So
Yeah, I feel you though. So I advertised it in some of my writing groups and in Razor Fist Discord and a couple places on Gilded. And everyone who bothered to read it and react was just like, hey man, this is really good insight. I think this is fantastic. This is a big help to new writers, which was like the secondary thing I wanted to do with that timeline article. Because the first one, to very briefly summarize it, is an appeal to everyone trying to support the Iron Age to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, if you say today, I want to write a great novel and sell it, it's probably going to take a year before it's for sale.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's good reasons for that. In the article, I basically just lay out the steps and add up the time and go, ta-da, 1 year, like calm down. There's nothing lazy about the fact that it takes a year, but the way I laid it out, you're also working on multiple stories. So after you get that first one out, you should be able to get a second novel out in like 3 to 4 months. And then, which is what I'm doing. It's my strategy. You will eventually be releasing a lot, and you'll be good. You'll be making less mistakes, hopefully, and you'll be growing your series and your world and your IP and all that. It just takes a while. And I don't want people to go, hey, it's been 5 months since Razor Fist coined this term. What? Nothing's happened. There's 3 book releases. This is a failure. That's just ridiculous.
Well, yeah,
Mm,
I was going to say I appreciated that sentiment from it. I was curious because as somebody who's not an author, I was curious what the take on it there was. I mean, I'm don't pretend to be an expert in that regard, so I'm glad to hear that, and I agree that sometimes people. I mean, we live in an age of pretty much instant gratification, so content just keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and so I think people have a real problem with the amount of time it takes to consume a book versus how much time it takes to create something. And you see that even with comics and whatnot. People are, it was,
Drawing takes so long. Oh
yeah,
my God.
it really does. And, but I mean, I think it's all just different mediums. Creating anything takes quite a bit of time. And so, it's very difficult to, uh, you know, establish that kind of patience that's required from people because even if you look at YouTubers and things like that, there's a lot of YouTubers that put out an extraordinary amount of content, you know, um, in very short turnarounds, and so everything just keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Yeah, exactly, and so I think it's always good to have people be reminded that you gotta some things take time, you know, and you
it all
can't just
takes time. It's just varying degrees of time. The point that consumers are in what's known as the 7-second cycle,
Mhm.
which is every 7 seconds they're paying attention to something and then they move on to something else. That it only works in instant attention though. when um when a person has published a book, say as an example, because that's sort of my wheelhouse, James's wheelhouse. When a person publishes a book, you have 7 seconds each time you post about it, you put any sort of spotlight on it. You have 7 seconds to catch their attention. But that doesn't mean that after those 7 seconds, they never think about it again. You have 7 seconds to impress. That's the point.
Well, and think about the word impress.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean to send somebody to a point of jubilation in their mind. That means to send somebody to a point of thoughtfulness where they will revisit that thought.
Right.
It
doesn't mean direct them to a website in 7 seconds. It means put that mind worm in their head in 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think, I mean, if you think of what you said there, the word impress, going back, and it's something that I've had many conversations with very good friends of mine in my life. Language means something. So to impress upon somebody, it's really taken on a new nature in the last 50 years. The word impress means to, if you impress somebody, it's gone from this idea of simply getting somebody to think about what you're saying and then to revisit that thought to a point where they actually give it some thought, to be a little bit reductive here, to this point of where impressing somebody now means that you have, said something to them that is so absolutely magnificent that it gets them to this point of jubilation every time. And that's not what impress means. That's not what you should go for. You should want to impress upon somebody your ideas so they want to revisit that thought and revisit what you're saying again, similar to like what I did when I'm reading Infinite Money Glitch to get ready for this. The first night I read it, I really wasn't there, but I knew that but there was that moment in that opening chapter with that shield glitch that it just, I thought about it and I was like, that's interesting. I like what he did, and it just kept gnawing at me. And then the next night I go and I read it back and I'm thinking about it, and it just, and that moment got better for me the more that I thought about it. because it made an impression, like in the traditional sense of an impression, not
And you thought about it multiple times over the course of a few days, probably.
No, and I have, and I actually no, and legitimately I have.
Yep.
Because that was the moment that, for me, if I were reading this as, and to be completely honest with James here, if I were reading this as somebody who picks up the book, and I'm reading this as just a reader, that's the hook moment for me, because I keep thinking about it. It was not the hook moment for me until a day or two later, after I had been reading the book, because I'm sadly I'm reading books and things now, and checking out new authors and stuff now for this channel, which does it removes somewhat of the natural experience out of it, but I did recognize that if there's a hook for me, it was that moment. And I can say that it's good to think about it in those terms.
Yeah, comedy is all about the punchline. So when you're writing a story and marketing a story that is inherently meant to be funny, your punchlines need to hit, and like take a moment if you want to, and think about all the jokes, how many of them you start with the punchline in your head. Like you think of the joke of, what was that joke about the, this, and it's always the punchline that you remember first, and then it takes a while to remember the rest of the lead up. So with a comedy book, Royce is correct. The punchline is that moment of impression.
It's very important, and it's very hard to do quickly. Maybe smarter people can do it quicker, but that was as fast as I could get a punchline in after establishing this is the world, this is the character, this is the other character, this is the conflict. Boom, joke. And it took maybe 3.5 pages or something like that, if I remember correct.
Yeah, it was not it was not a short punchline to get to for being your first punchline, because I would say that was your first punchline of the book.
Yeah, there's kind of the oddity of when you get the description of Abby, the speedrunner, where he's literally like he hit random on the Oblivion character generator.
Yeah. No, and they care, and here's what's so funny too. Abby, which is the character's name, he comes back. And he's just the thorn in the side of this guy, and he's just like, why is this person here? Please make him go. But here's what makes the whole book just a great joke for me, and the punch, and having many punch. It's a comedy skit. Let me rephrase that. Here's what makes the whole book a comedy skit. You are viewing this from the standpoint of an NPC. All of us have played video games, where you go in here. How are you doing today, hero? What would you like to buy today, hero? Oh, did you collect your items that I have for you, hero? We've all played those games.
Welcome to
And
Cornell.
now that guy who says those lines to us, we are in his shoes. And we get to see the absolute assholes that we are to that guy. and that being the premise of this book is wonderful. It's because I haven't thought of it in those terms, and now I'm just like, oh wow, yeah, so I play Destiny, right? I play Destiny with my wife and our friends. It's a really fun game, and I'm the type of guy, I'm just like, dude, I don't care if I missed items and my mailbox is full. But now, because of James's book, I'm thinking, Well, if that mail lady was really like an NPC, like in James's book, she'd be like, "Please clear out your mailbox. Like, please just come and pick up the stuff. Like, why are you just letting it sit here? Like, I know you don't care about this stuff, and you
Like
probably
trying to
have it."
shove an entire sword into an already full
Yeah,
mailbox of gold and swords and like
exactly.
tunics and shit. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's exactly what it is, too. And she's just like, but then when and she's sitting there thinking about this, and then when I go up to check on this stuff, which I don't care about, which I'll look at and she'll go, hello, you know, and she'll be like, hello, how are you today? We have some interesting items, because I think she's also the shop as well in that game. And I'll like look at my mailbox and I'll just bounce. And then because of James's book, I'm literally recontextualizing the absolute asshole that I am, and just looking at my like, oh, I don't care about any of this crap. It can just get deleted. While she's sitting there going, I don't have room for all of your crap. Please get it out of here.
Pulling it out and throwing it in a dumpster in the back.
Because somebody has to throw it away. And I love that humor in this book, is that you're from the perspective of characters that you never thought you would be able to think of. You get to see this stuff, and I love that. I think that so, and that's one of the questions that I have been wanting to ask. Why choose the NPC merchant from level 1 to be your main character?
He's the ultimate underdog. Everyone loves an underdog. How could he possibly be the one to break the entire auction house? It's because no one pays attention to him.
Was that really it? Was it that simple?
Pretty much. So he has other character traits about like his relationship with Ariane at the bank, and the fact that he's running this.
Dude, that scene was stupid hilarious. That was redonkulous, dude. I told my wife about that, and I was like, so he's staring at this other NPC that he's very attracted to, and she's the mail lady. And there are noises in the background, and I am not going to describe those noises. And James, you should not either, because everybody should pick up.
I can describe them tastefully if you would like. People will know what I'm talking about.
No, because I want people to read this thing, because that was I actually picked up and started reading that on my second night, because I didn't get very far the first night. And when I read that, I was just like, I'm reading that and I'm just like, what the fuck? It was, and again, you don't get a lot of laughs out of me, and you can ask Convoy Bebop with how I am. Thoughtbot noise. You're close, Calvin Gulata. It's not Thoughtbot noises. You're close. Hail chat. But dude, it's really funny, because you're doing a really good compare and contrast with what the NPCs could be going through if they were real, with how actual characters treat the world of the NPCs. And that's a really fantastic thought experiment. I love it.
It's a little bit Mirror Darkly, and that's what makes it fun.
Well, a little bit more recently, there was a big, in my opinion, kind of flash in the pan over Ready Player One. Mm-hmm. Did you read that book? Do you have any thoughts on that in relation to this? Or anything?
I liked the book. I liked the member berries. The movie was so critically and obviously flawed. I can't believe that they released that.
I never saw the movie, so I have no idea.
I think I saw parts of the movie.
It was bad in comparison to the book, but they're always bad in comparison to the books.
The Lord of the Rings movies are pretty good.
No, they're not.
No, whoa.
Oh, no.
Okay. No, the level of detail that was in the books was not in the Lord of the Rings movies. However, the thematic elements and the heart was still there, I believe. You could not do the level of detail. It's impossible. Because
Each movie was like 3 hours long.
4 hours long if you have the
Yeah.
extended editions.
So if they were gonna break the time limit cycle anyways, they might as well just do it correctly.
So you would want a 16-hour long Fellowship of the Ring.
I think a lot of people.
And if it doesn't have Tom Bombadil in it, you can fuck off.
No, dude, because Tom Bombadil, by Tolkien's own words, was an enigma.
Exactly.
He was an enigma to the story, and my personal theory on Tom Bombadil is actually that he was the essence of nature itself, based off of the description. A lot of people try to say he was Iluvatar. I don't believe Tom Bombadil was Iluvatar. I think that in Tolkien's mind, and I am obviously most likely wrong here because Tolkien is long past, and we may never know this, and he simply said he was an enigma. But I really do believe, based off of the description, where when the forest and all the creatures of the forest were created, Tom Bombadil essentially came into existence. And when the forest is all but wiped out and destroyed, and as the forests are reduced, Tom Bombadil's power is reduced. I think that Tom Bombadil was essentially the essence of nature in the book. But again, something that will never be confirmed by Tolkien, or sadly Christopher, and then the rest of the Tolkien family is just trying to destroy his legacy right now. But no,
yeah, but that's the point that I'm making, is that even though the concept of Tom Bombadil was not central to the story itself, it was still a relevant and very important detail to the universe. And the movies, while I will say they were cinematically good, they're not accurate to the books.
In story, no. In essence, yes.
Agreed.
I will fight you on this. I will fight you on this.
Don't mess with me. I will beat you with my entire library of Tolkien books if I have to.
There's only like 9.
No, I mean all the background stuff, the map.
Yeah, no, he's talking about all the background
books.
stuff.
I collect all of that crap. You have no idea. It's insane.
I do, because my father collected everything and gave them to me, because I'm the only one in the family with a bookshelf.
Fantastic.
There you go.
Let me nerd flex for a sec.
Nerd flex.
I have to go upstairs.
Wait.
All right,
wait. Has anybody bought James Krake's new book, Infinite Money Glitch, recently? Because River needs a treat. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want River to have a treat, you have to go and buy James Krake's new book, Infinite Money Glitch. And River, that lovely black lab over there, that starving, lovely black lab, she's very hungry. She wants the treats.
She's about to eat the books. Jeez.
I know. She needs a treat. So comment down below, or super chat me, or locals chat me, and let me know that you have made a pre-order of James Krake's new book, and River will get a treat.
Okay, so apparently Mr. Riley has accepted the throne gauntlet, and he's off to get his books.
Oh, yeah, no.
While he's doing that, Russ, are you familiar with the lit RPG genre?
Heard of it, not familiar with it.
If I say progression fantasy, are you familiar with that?
No, I'm an idiot, sir. Why?
So it's the second most lucrative genre in fiction right now, after random romance novels. And the fundamental appeal to progression fantasy and lit RPG is a character who starts at level 1 and gets to level 10 trillion, whatever, able to curb stop all the people who annoy him in the world, unbeatable, remix reality, that kind of stuff.
You should do that before level 1. Sorry. So for those of you out there, I'm that guy. I will go into level 1, 15 levels over what I need to beat the first boss and curb stomp the first boss. And I'm told that that's not the right way that you should play the game. No, I want to enjoy the story. And so I will spend my first 15 to 20 hours curb stomping whatever small things that I can to level up as much as humanly possible. And then I'll just walk through the rest of the game. It's great. I love it.
Respect on that. But the appeal of that genre is powering up. And if you don't start at ground zero, it's probably the dogs outside. So.
Ow!
Oh my gosh, we get to see
Oh
him.
my gosh.
Oh, it's not as pretty as River.
It's not as pretty as River.
If you don't start at level 1,
prettier than me. Really Jesus Christ.
How many drinks have you had so far, Royce?
You don't want to know. Guys, I need everybody to understand. I pregame before the shows.
How do you think he gets through this?
I'm an alcoholic, not a drunk. There's a difference.
So anyways, the reason I bring that up is Infinite Money Glitch is technically a lit RPG. They know they're in a video game. They know that leveling up lets them fight better monsters and win duels with like wagers. And I still needed to choose a character that was at ground level. And a lot of other stories find a reason to like knock them down and give them like a revenge journey or something. Like, oh, he was level 99, but now he has to start over because the antagonist deleted his account. Something like that, right?
Yeah.
Can't really do that with an NPC. So I had to find an NPC that was like level 1 to start the story with. And then give him
Raven Nevermore, the paperback will not be available until December 5th.
Calvin Galad knows what's up. Einzul Gallon. Horizon Talker. I don't actually really like lit RPG. I wish I could safely spoil part of it, but I actually kind of make a joke of the genre in Infinite Money Glitch. I'm very satisfied with how I subvert it. You'll have to get the book to find out, though. It happens around chapter 12 when he goes to the lending bank, if that's a bit of a teaser. So, Mr. Riley, did you go get your books? Why do I feel like I'm on mute suddenly?
You're not on mute. Did you get your books? Are you going to show your Tolkien flex, Mr. Daniel P. Riley?
Oh yeah, if you'd like, I'm ready.
Yeah. Well, we've been waiting.
It's
all you, buddy. It's all
First, you. Journeys of Frodo.
That's something I don't have.
The map book. This thing is beautiful. Each page is literally section by section, county by county, landscape by landscape. It's insane. Letters. Everybody should have this book.
I actually need to get the letters.
It's one of the. It's so amazing. Such insight into him. I also have this old beastie right here. Architect of Middle Earth by Daniel Grotta. It's a really cool background into his design of the language and to his design of the world structure itself. A Hobbit's Travel, Sam Gamgee. This thing is really neat. I don't know if you can see. It's like a diary book.
That's awesome.
But it has the original art style work as the background and surrounding of each page. It's really cool looking. I never wrote anything in it because I was like, this thing is just too neat to pass up. Illustrated encyclopedia. Full of pictures and explanations of everything. This is only a quarter of what I have upstairs, by the way. I didn't bring them all.
Do you have his translation work?
Yeah. That's
I
a good
have
one.
Beowulf and Gawain the Green Knight. They're amazing.
Yeah, that's good. Tolkien's scrapbook is full of cool anecdotes. Like, and this thing it's got actual photographs from his life and explanation after explanation of relevant topics. Like I don't know if you can see, there we go. The St. Michael portrait.
That used to hang. We actually had a quite large portrait of that hanging in my school when I was a kid.
Yep.
Wow.
And then I've got the pictures.
I have to take back my earlier comment. There are far more than 9 Tolkien books.
Oh, dude, this is only a quarter of my collection of Tolkien stuff. So this pictures book is, yeah, there we go. If you can see that, the Hill Hobbiton, it's artwork that was designed that helped facilitate some of the great descriptions that the man wrote. It's all in this really cool compendium with this really neat gold leaf on the front. It comes in a sleeve. This thing is from, I want to say 1978, I believe. Yeah, I'm a Tolkien nut. I don't know if like all this stuff up here is World War II memorabilia, anthologies, magazines, things like that. I collect rare books and trade them and sell them and stuff from like a retarded bibliophile.
No, and all I was saying is that
in my
the movies, all I was saying was that the movies, they may not have been story accurate, which all of us know. I mean, if anybody has ever read Tolkien at all, like, it's obvious they're not story accurate. But they did stay true, or as true as possible, I guess, with that qualifier there, to the thematic elements and to what Tolkien was going for.
Well, most movie
friendship, heroism, stoicism with certain characters. They're again, the one thing that I don't like that the movies did is they really changed Aragorn. And Aragorn is my favorite character in the movies. And don't get me wrong, Viggo Mortensen gave everything to that role. I mean, lost a tooth, broke his foot.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's where a lot of my appreciation of those movies comes from, is that those actors in some cases broke themselves for that role and continued on anyway. And most of these pansy asses today wouldn't even, I chipped a nail, I need a stunt double. And sometimes it was the stunt doubles that did it. And stunt doubles were like, nope, we're going to keep going. And the idea that those movies, for all of their flaws and a lot of their graces, turned so many people on to the world of Tolkien. Turned me on to the world of Tolkien. I mean, I was a little kid. I didn't know what I was little. Like, I was not 31. And
I got pulled out of school to see the Tolkien movies.
Oh, really?
I
feel so old.
Oh God.
I knew about the Tolkien stories way before I even saw the Rankin Bass animated films that came out 30 years ago.
I have seen 5 minutes of those after I saw the first Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship. I have not seen those. I'm not going to claim to see those. I'm not going to claim to be some Tolkien scholar. I will claim to say that I have gone through and I have watched lectures from professors who've studied Tolkien who were people who have also studied philology. And a lot of people don't understand that Tolkien was a philologist. They think that Tolkien was just a storyteller. He was not. And a lot of people don't actually understand what philology was. And then I went down that rabbit hole of trying to figure out what philology was. Turns out philology is not actually something that's taught nowadays. Philology is something that's completely lost to time. It's separated into, at the time that I was looking into this, which was 4 to 5 years ago, potentially. Obviously, my dates are off based off of earlier comments in this live stream, but based off of if my memory serves me correctly, which is most likely wrong, but philology has been broken up into about 4 or 5 different subjects. But philology can be correctly analogized as the study of language, in that it is the study of language the way that you would study ancient stones, the way that archaeologists do, and the way that you can look at a stone and go, the weathering of this stone did this thing, it's been around for this amount of time. That's what philologists do with language. Well, Tolkien was a philologist. He knew language, and in fact, I believe it was was it 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 was one of the Norse languages. It wasn't Swedish. It was come on, Daniel. Which one was it?
I'm waiting.
No, I'm asking because I'm drawing a blank, good sir. I admit my faults.
Which are you talking about the root concept behind his Elvish?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe it was it's one of the Norse languages, and I cannot remember.
I thought he was Middle English, and
No. That was one of the subjects that he taught. That was not one of the languages, and in fact, it was the Duchess of the country who recognized her language in the Elvish language that actually came out. I believe it was the Duchess of the country, and said that she was very proud to. It was some documentary that I was watching, and she was very proud to have seen that, Tolkien had drawn inspiration from her language for Danish. It was the Danish, right? Okay, sorry. It took me. Shut up. I have a lot of information in my brain, okay? And I also have a lot of fear in my brain. But it was the Danes. It was the Danes.
Technically, the Quenish concept was originally derived from Finland's version of Scandinavian dialect, but yeah, the language of the elves in the actual books was more Danish than Finnish.
No, and he I believe Tolkien taught Old English, which to most of us would actually sound Germanic. Most of us would not recognize Old English today. I've always told people I'm more of a fan of Tolkien the man than I am of Tolkien the books, right? The Lord of the Rings, like that's all. It's all interesting. It's a wonderful story. I love it, and I am not trying to be reductive here. The man stood in the trenches of World War I. The man also wrote letters from Santa Claus as Santa Claus to his children.
Correct.
Every year. The man was also good friends, and in fact best friends, with C.S. Lewis. And
to the point where they had multiple arguments over letters.
Oh yeah. And was one of the most heartbreaking moments of his life when C.S. Lewis died. He was also the father of the modern, what was known at the time fairy story.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the reasons why the University of England, or not the University of England, and the university that he taught at, still today has a hard time accepting him as a mainstream writer, because England at the time and the universities at the time did not want to accept somebody telling fairy stories.
Mm-hmm.
It was very taboo at the time. And in fact, had you not had Tolkien, obviously 100% you would not have Game of Thrones. Oxford. Thank you, Asher Burnett.
Yep.
Or Brunner. Yep. It was Oxford. And Oxford still doesn't like to recognize Tolkien. They begrudgingly recognize Tolkien.
It's more about what C.S. Lewis created, which was one of the fundamental things that the two of them argued about all the time, was that Tolkien believed allegorism, the concept of allegory in fiction, was ham-fisted.
He hated it.
Yeah, he thought it was ham-fisted, and you basically monkey wrenched these concepts into things that had no place for them in the first place.
Well,
which is what Lewis did with Narnia, and
that is that allegory from the time that I have, recognized that it's reared its ugly head. Like, he hated allegory. He detested it. People trying to say that the ring from the Lord of the Rings was an allegory for the nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, and what's so funny is that if you actually look at how he wrote his story, you could almost say that Tolkien wrote a story that was words, also beer, but was
beer makes us smarter, remember?
Wait. But
quick aside.
no, but being why am I forgetting the word? Not monotheistic.
You mean polytheistic?
I was going to say polytheistic, but it didn't sound right to me. But anyway, we'll go with that.
Yeah, pantheon of gods is polytheism.
Why does that not sound right to me? Anyway, but if you actually look at what he wrote, obviously you have Vila Iluvatar being the origination of the god, and then everything sprang from him, angels and so on. But there is a certain sense that because he never got really into the nitty-gritty. Well, and he didn't get into the nitty-gritty of that particularly because he didn't have time. He sadly died before he was able to flesh out the pantheon, which wasn't necessarily a pantheon, but he wasn't using the allegory of his religious faith in that. You could almost say that he came up with the polytheism of his world. I mean, Gandalf was essentially an archangel, if you really want to kind of break it down into, Catholic terms.
Yeah, there's been a lot of argument for that, but the truth of the matter is, from the notes that I've read, is that the concept of theism was meant to be mysterious from the get-go, so there was really no need for him to flesh it all out. The rest of it, he created a world. That's something that many authors aspire to and few actually reach. He created an entire planet, and then he created everything else that we know about our world in a fantasy form, in a fairy tale form, which was
where did it start?
Unprecedented.
But where did it start?
I think it's very unarguable that the stories Tolkien told were defined by basic Christian morality.
Yes.
Like, everything comes from the sin of pride of Melkor. That is where all evil in Middle-earth comes from.
No. Hold on. I'm going to disagree because this does lead to my point. everything stems from the man's love of language.
Yes.
And wanting to write his own language.
Well, that's meta.
And then after he wrote his own language, which was the Quenish, right?
Yeah, Quenya.
Sorry. He then wrote a story around how that language came to be.
Mm-hmm.
So just so everybody understands, Tolkien decided to create a language. Oh, and by the way, he created 3.
Yes.
He created 3, but his first was Quenya. And then he
And
went, well, how does
recent.
my language come to be? And obviously he was a master of language, being a philologist who had studied the olden languages, who had known where roots of languages came from. The man was, again, philology. Look into it. If you guys don't know philology, I promise you, you will be incredibly satisfied by looking into philology. It's a fantastic subject.
It was kind of a domino effect. His thing for fairy tales prompted the desire to create a fairy tale language, his version of Quenya or Elvish. And then from there, everything was a domino effect. In order to justify the language, you had to justify a root because he was a philologist, which meant there needed to be historical reference to where the root derivatives of all of these words came from in order to create it. So he had to build a society. And after building a society, he had to build a country. And after building a country, he had to build, a continent.
And his want to have at least one fairy story, or at least one what we would call fairy tale, that was truly English.
Mm-hmm.
Because even as Tolkien referenced, not even the tales of King Arthur were English. They were taken from the French. Mm-hmm. And he wanted something. He wanted a fairy story that was truly English, which I respect. I mean, we beat the pants off those sons of bitches in 1776, but I respect the fact that the man deeply loved. I don't care who you are. If you deeply love your country, I respect you. And I respect the fact that he wanted to write he wanted to create and develop a fairy tale history of his own country. Who of us today is going to do that of America?
It's hard. It'd take a lot of work.
It would. It would. And in fact, it took a man standing in the trenches of World War I to do it for the English. And you know what? He successfully did it. And he will be remembered throughout history for what he did. And we can argue back and forth as to whether
worth of information to create what he created.
Well, and you know what? Who one of his first proofreaders was?
It was C.S. Lewis, wasn't it?
No, his son, Christopher.
Oh,
yeah.
His son. And in fact, we actually have
They all were like that. They passed their stories to their children for smell test to see if it would pass muster.
Which and going back to, ironically enough, why we have talked about it many times on this channel, seems to be there's a lot of parents and a lot of dads, a lot of moms, a lot of people here in the Iron Age that are looking to see stories that we can give to our children. And James, although my children are not old enough for your stories yet, I think when my children are in their teen years, I would absolutely pass along my stories to them in their teen years, because I think that they are absolutely fantastic for probably the age. I don't know. Maybe I'm a bad parent, but most likely am. I'm probably a horrible parent. But
that's why I kind of go corny with my stuff, because corny is timeless. It's something that somebody in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years can identify with, because it's corny. It's just natural. It's part of life itself.
Okay, so Royce, looking forward, I am trying to build my audience and build my pool of readers that will buy the stuff I produce.
You've come to
takes
the right
a long
place.
time. No, these YouTubers that are successful are 10 years in the making, overnight successes, right? I fully plan to write a YA series. The catch is simply that I want to do it as like a comic or a graphic novel, which means I need to be making enough money with my writing that I can afford to hire illustrators and colorists and everything.
Yeah.
May I make a suggestion?
Sure.
And this is something that I think is actually a really good model. Follow the Shad Brooks style. Write your YA novel.
Have an artist come to me.
Well, no, he went to the artist. From what I understand, he went to the artist. But write your novel, have that story, put it out as a story. And then, as time goes on, find somebody who can because having a pre-existing story and hey, I've sold this book, it did well, people liked it, will you artistically draw it for me?
That's what I'm doing.
Because as a parent, and I am speaking to you as a father of 4 right now, not as a drink with crazy and not as some guy that gets absolutely hammered on his streams all the time. Might be slightly getting there right now. But I speak to you and I mean this. And I understand and I understand the want and the drive and the fantastical nature of putting pictures and images in front of children. But
Uh-oh.
We lost him.
Oh no.
Technical difficulties.
I'm sitting here getting attacked by a dog who wants to play fetch.
There you go.
Well, you got a minute. Royce has frozen, and that's a great expression for him to get frozen on. Look at that face.
Is Cowboy Bebop in the watching? Is he getting a screenshot of this?
You better be.
Well,
you're in utter suspense of what the advice is.
Oh, he'll be back. He'll tell us.
Yeah.
So, quick, simple logistic question. How long did it take for you to write Infinite Money Glitch?
Let me check the workout. See here. So, Infinite Money Glitch is 72,000 words.
You gonna say a month and a half?
Yeah, it was about a month and a half.
Makes sense.
That's not including edits. Although the way edits played out for Infinite Money Glitch was additive. Rather than like, oh, I need to tear out this entire section. It was like, well, it's kind of dumb that no one ever checked this thing while they're taking this huge gamble. So let me like create this new character who's like a peeping Tom ghost because they need to do some spying. And that's a funny way to do a spy in this world. So I inserted that into the story because it was like lacking. I underwrote the story at first. So because that's the kind of errors I had, it was pretty painless to edit the book. It was just add more content, which is always fun.
Yeah. It's always more fun to add than to subtract, but
yeah.
I
cut some painful chapters from Faceless. I still want to find a way to reintroduce this like giant robot fight I had at the end of Faceless that just didn't fit the book.
I'm kind of doing that right now because I'm doing a redo of my first fantasy trilogy, and one of the things that I realized after I put the whole series out was I never actually explained the dragons that are in it, and one of them is like a major character. So when I finished all 3 books, I sat back and I was so proud of myself, and I went, oh crap, I completely forgot to put that whole section in. So now that I'm going back and doing what I call the reforge of this trilogy, I'm like, I'm gonna slip this in where it was supposed to be, and nobody's gonna notice. It's fine.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, when I say it took me a month and a half or so to write the book, that doesn't include, like, let me put this on hold so I can go read in the genre. Let me get beta reader feedback. Let me just go back and fix the prose. Let me send it to a copy. Like that. That's all on top. The guts of the story.
That's what consumers don't realize, is that the actual process of building a book starts way before you actually sit down and write it. Like, people talk about NaNoWriMo and cranking out 50,000 words. That's fine, but you don't think about the month or 2 that goes into setting all of that up before November hits in the first place. And then the 3 to 6 months of editing and proofing that may happen afterwards, and then the 6 months of marketing that happens before you even realize that the book exists. You know,
do 6
a
months?
year has passed.
I always shortchange myself on marketing.
6 months is the average, man.
He used a drink with crazy to help his marketing. Ladies and gentlemen, the man needs help.
Judgment
Welcome
problem.
back, by the way, Royce.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah, so may or may not had a cat or something in my house that was alive. Go
What?
and just pull internet cables
Nice.
out of the splitter.
I was gonna say, we were all hoping that Convoy Bebop got a screenshot of that face you were making when you froze, because that was classic.
I was gonna say something really heartfelt and be like, dude, as a parent, like, I want words in front of my kids, and so I can teach my kids words instead of just paying attention to pictures. I had this whole like thing, and then all of a sudden my internet was just like, nope, bitch, we're not getting heartfelt tonight. And I was just like, thanks, internet. I appreciate you.
So,
They turned you into one of those like Hallmark commercial pictures. You were just,
well, I mean, I do have one of Shad, so I posted it on Twitter when his power went out. That was great.
blackmail photos. Nice.
Is it, well, no, it's not blackmail. I posted it on Twitter. I posted Shad After Dark. Because his literally like, so his lights went out. So his lights went out, and then his camera stayed alive long enough.
Oh, like a 5-second.
Like, not even like, I don't even know how long it was, but we were on Night's Watch, and Shad's power went out. He's had bad storms down in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Lights go out, and then Shad is sitting there just like, like, and then like it was like a half a second or whatever it was. It was great. I loved it.
Nice job.
So I got a question for you, Royce. Just because I want to like start laying the groundwork for making this YA series succeed. Is a person a product of their circumstances or of their actions?
Ooh, philosophical.
That's nature
question.
versus nurture.
Correct.
And that's something that is one of the hardest things to answer. I think. Okay, ask the question one more time, because I have an idea of where I want to go, but ask it one more time.
Are people products of their circumstances or of their choices? I think there are 2 camps in the world right now, political camps, unfortunately, where one group says that this person can't help it. It is the circumstances that they were brought up in that they did the things they did.
Oh God, and I'm one of the annoying people that I believe that it's both. And the reason that I'm one of the annoying people that believes that it's both is because I have met people in my life who have had like phenomenal upbringings, and they're shit human beings, and horrible upbringings, and they're fantastic and successful human beings. At the end of the day, the nature versus nurture model when it comes to a YA novel doesn't matter. What matters is the morality of the story, the initiative of the character to want to be better than they were the day before. It's the pinned tweet that I have had on Twitter forever.
I'm going to argue that you just chose that people are products of their choices. Then
no, they're not, but they're not, because
I see where he's going.
People are not entirely in control of their choices, because most of I would say that 99% of the choices that a person makes are choices that they didn't know they even had 0.5 seconds before they had those choices. But they still have to make a choice, but based on the circumstances that are in front of them. And that's why I say that people are both.
Then you will at least agree it will make for a good thematic conflict for a series.
Depending on how you do it. What makes a good thematic element is the moral through line. In my personal opinion, and I'm a fucking moron, I drink a beer online and talk with people. In my personal opinion, I think that you start with somebody who is morally inept, or at least somewhat morally inept, and that person, through their quests and through, again, the nature versus nurture, what makes a good person? Morality. Well, you can't answer that question. Well, fuck off. Is it their choices?
Like
is it the questions in front of them? Is it what is it? It is their morality. It's their through line. That's what makes a good story. Pick a person who may not necessarily have the best morality, and then say, I think that I would like them to end up with this morality. They might not be the best person in the world, but they're going to get there. And then allow that person to go through their own choices and other people's influences on them to maybe get them to that point. The nature versus nurture argument is so broad and can't be answered predominantly because they removed the morality segment of what a human being is from the nature versus nurture argument.
I would disagree.
Now you have to answer what morality is to you and what type of morality you want to convey to your readers. So, good luck.
So what to get to the point I was trying to make, to try and tease the story, because I think I have a very strong hero-centered structure to the story, is I'm going to be writing in a world where everyone has a fate, not a total encapsulation of their future, but a aspect of their future that is perceived to be immutable. Except for the main character, who knows you totally can change your fate. You are responsible for your actions. You are not tied down to, the circumstances of your birth, so on. And that is a main theme I want to approach with the series I'm going to write when it's not, cute girls fighting monsters and saving the day.
Interesting.
I mean, I
think
to me, my
curious about my fantasy trilogy. When I finish the Reforge, I'm going to send that to him. Go ahead, Richard.
I was going to say, my thoughts on the whole nature versus nurture thing is that, to answer in your phrasing, I think that people are a product of the choices that they make, that they are also given. I think that there is an aspect of, whether or not certain people were offered choices within what was available to them. You can't say, for example, a starving kid, they can either steal the bread or not, and that's kind of like a cliche type of thing. But I think that there is too much of the tendency towards nature within things, and I know you've talked a little bit about this concept before, or this pretense for your story before, and I like the idea of seeing it as of seeing fate as something that's immutable, and then having people realize, or at least one person disagree, essentially. And so I think
I think that's one of the entire ideas behind human existence is the disagreement with fate. It's what romanticizes human existence to a certain degree, and what gives a lot of people, even myself, 100%, somewhat the persistence and the will to go above and beyond is, well, I saw this fate in front of me. I disagree with that. I'm not going to do it. And that kind of becomes where the personal choice things comes into factor.
That's the crux of it, yeah. Are you responsible for your actions?
I mean, I think certainly. I mean, you can always. I think people are always responsible for their actions, but I think that also the potential number of actions available to people sometimes isn't always taken into account when you're talking about the nature versus nurture discussion. Because I personally disagree with a lot of the arguments that have been used to advance whenever people take the nature position on things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that there's a lot of folks who will, go in the angle of, I don't know, you get these funny, like, what am I thinking of? Like little docu-series or whatever about twins separated at birth or something like that, and both of them ended up being firefighters or something like that. And it's like, listen, that's fun for like a like a History Channel or a TLC series or something like that. But that's largely a sidestep of the question. I think that each person makes their has to be responsible for their own moral decisions. So yeah, I think that that's the case, but I can't deny that there's a certain amount of input that people have based on everything.
And it's.
I am sending both of you copies of Tales of Halcyon when I'm done.
I'm very excited to read it.
Sure.
Well, the whole point of this is actually a question that I posited through the story. The main character, the protagonist character, is a fat, rude, inappropriate young man who a flamboyant person who announces himself as the wizard comes to.
I want to be the wizard.
And says,
if you sent me a shirt that said the wizard, yeah, I might actually wear it. And I have a deep hatred of wearing anything that has logos on me.
But he comes to this kid and he says, you are destined to save our world. Come with me.
But now, what if that kid was like Cartman and he was like, "Fuck you"?
That's exactly what the story explores, because it sort of inverts the hero's journey, because he's not just dragged along in this thing. He has his moment of denying the journey right in the beginning because he doesn't want to go. He lives at home with his mom, and his mom makes him food. Why would he go anywhere? He gets to lay around and do whatever the hell he wants all day and get fed. you know. But he also has a little bit of that complex that I want to be something more than I am. So when given this opportunity, and that's why I named the book The Wizard's Mistake. Good night, Calvin. Because I wanted to play with that question. Is it nature? Is it nurture? Is it a person is capable of greatness regardless of where they come from? Or is it a product of who they?
And that is why the nature, and that's what I was saying earlier, is the nature versus nurture argument is missing the critical component of morality. And you say, well, okay, nature versus nurture. Where does morality come from? And that's one of the biggest things. Is oftentimes morality can be introduced by an outside source, or based off of the situation you're in, you just feel it in your heart. And that's where, if we don't want to go into the conversation that we had on our Black Friday stream, which all of us know where that conversation, and I thought that was a fantastic conversation, by the way. I actually went and I sent I sent Mike S. Miller, or Mark,
Hi, Mark.
a Twitter DM, and I said, "Hey, dude, thank you for challenging me on what I thought." But the problem with nature versus nurture is it removes the idea of morality, and then we have to go, okay, what is morality? What type of morality are you instilling, right? And we get bogged down in the weeds with that. Well, morality means this one thing. Well, now we're seeing all these creepy kinds of people out there taking their children to drag queen shows, and they call that morality, right? And so we get into the idea, okay, what's the thing? What's more powerful, nature versus nurture? I don't think it's either. Okay, what is the thing? It's morality. All right, what morality are we talking about? Are we talking about the insane morality, or what we would consider the traditional morality? And then once we can define that, we move that into the category, okay, now nature versus nurture with morality in the center. And we use that as kind of the metric, right? And that might not be the best way to explain it, but
yeah, I'm trying to puzzle this one out.
So Royce, I specifically phrased the question initially as, are you a product of your circumstances or of your choices? Because morality is defined by what you choose to do.
No, it's not.
And
yes.
No, I think all moral weight comes from informed choices.
Morality is not defined what you choose to do. Morality is defined by the world around you and how you experience it. Okay. And then the choices that you make from that. Not what you choose to do, but your perception of what is good in the world. That is morality. And
it's that's Christian interpretation.
Huh? That's fine. That's fine. No, I'm okay with that. But if we're going to get in what people believe what is right or righteous and what is bad or evil, okay, it may not be the Christian interpretation, which is fine. I'm fine with that. Especially being, I was raised traditional Catholic. Like,
I like this conversation.
Oh, I know. Oh, trust me. I've been hoping this would get here. Okay. But morality is not this is where the nature versus nurture argument lacks hugely. It completely discounts the, and there are, and here's the thing. there are limited perceptions that human beings have. Well, I'm an individual. I believe, no, shut the fuck up. No. You're only an individual to a point. You are crafted and molded by the society in which you live, and thusly, based off of many different, fields of study that we know, you will only have, based off of the society that you live in, a specific scope of information that you draw from in order to craft and build the ideas that you have, thusly the morality that you have, and the thought processes therefrom. We know this. We know the anthropological studies, the archaeological studies, and the historical studies all converge in this place and prove this. So the idea being that a person can, when you talk about nature versus nurture, and you go, well, which one wins out? It is the morality of the society in which they live. Now, in our society, and let's just talk about specifically the American society, with 300 million people, we have actually segregated and separated certain moralities away from each other. How do we know this? Well, there tends to be a culture war happening, which most of us agree with, right? Most of us agree that people are divided on ideological, cultural lines.
I think
so. That being said, you then have to go deeper into the mindset of what makes the cultural divide, which most people would call morality, right? I think some of us here, maybe all of us here, would highly disagree with children going to drag shows and, stuffing $5 bills down some male drag show dude's fucking thong. But yet we see pictures of it on Twitter. We see videos of it on Twitter. Now, the people who are taking their kids there believe that that is morally right and morally righteous to take their children to that. I believe that it is morally wrong and morally reprehensible for that to happen. Right? So we are seeing the cultural divide here. Okay. Then you go into the deeper thing. What makes a good story? Well, now we get into the historical sense of it. Because what makes a good story? Well, I have to look back into the past and see what happened there. And at that point, we start to draw not from nature or nurture, but from the morality of the through line of what we have seen through history. Now, right or wrong, and many things were wrong, and some things were actually written in such a way that they were like, oh, wow, this was written in a way where this was wrong, but it was written in a way to be understood in the context of the story. Okay. And that's where morality gets really, really twisted. Because going through timelines of history, especially when you bring it to today's history or even timelines of old history, you can see what we went through today happening in ancient Rome, because it did. And that's where most of this gets absolutely insane and absolutely tricky to deal with. And it's like, that's why the nature versus nurture argument is something that I throw away. I don't like it. I don't think it matters, because nature versus nurture doesn't answer the morality question. And then when you get into the morality question, you have to specifically look at the timeline of the timeline in which the morality question is happening, and what timeline you want to set that story in. And then go back and go, okay, well, I want to set my story in this timeline. The morality of that timeline was this, and rock and roll with that. And for lack of a half an hour long explanation, that's where I'm at.
Richard, go ahead, man.
Have you ever heard the sentiment that a good story is an aesthetic argument?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, once or twice. Not.
How about I write the story, because I think I can better communicate the sentiment with the story than these kinds of arguments that everyone has had probably 15 times.
But that's the point of a storyteller.
Do it better with a story.
But that's the point of a storyteller. That's no. Christ was able to pass down parables because the stories that he told resonated. That is James Krake exactly said the great point of a storyteller. Tolkien was able to pass down his points because he was a good storyteller. James said exactly the thing that good storytellers do.
But a parable is only one form of storytelling.
Yeah, this is, I would say that's very different.
I was using an example.
Well, I know what you were saying. I'm just, that's the obvious flaw in the logic, unfortunately. A parable is only one form of storytelling.
But that's not what James was talking about. I was simply using a specific point to
Sure.
I mean, you're right. In some cases, you are correct. But if you say that it's in all cases, then I would disagree with you.
It is, nothing is in all cases.
Well,
I mean, that's all I'm getting.
Morality is in all cases. That's the point. And one of the things that gets missed in the nature versus nurture concept is that the foothold of the argument is that nature is morality and nurture is learned behavior. That's the
I don't agree with nature being morality. I don't agree with nature being morality.
Like monologue. All I want to say is that nature and nurture both remove choice, which is literally the first thing that James actually mentioned.
Correct. So
we're talking about something that's utterly different than what he even mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm happy to listen, but I'm just saying it's a different subject. You know what I mean?
Morality.
Morality. I mean, I think that you're actually agreeing with him in a way. So we've gone in a big circle.
No. I am so. All right. I have to do the swear jar thing, and they're gonna give me shit in the chat. I'm so fucking happy the conversation got here. And I am utterly happy that Iron Age Nights happened, because this is the stuff that I love talking about.
Me too.
I mean, this gets into the essence of not just storytelling, but human beings themselves, which, what do you have a right to talk about being a human being? Well, I am one, motherfucker, so get bent. But conversations like these, where you sit and you ask, okay, what draws a human being in? Which leads to the question of, well, what draws a human being in? Well, it's being a human. Well, what is that? That is the logical step. And most of us go, well, that's really complicated. Well, probably. But is it?
Yeah.
We make it a lot more complicated than it needs to be.
I would argue, and this may be really reductive, but I would argue that being human is this: love, companionship, some moment of heroicism in your life. I've had my hero moments. No, it wasn't as awesome as, Nakatomi Plaza, sad day. But I've had my moments of heroicism in my life. And then moments of companionship. Like, that's it. Love, companionship, moments of heroicism, moments of gratitude, moments of character building for yourself, where you become more than what you were the day before. I think it's that simple. And we often get lost in the weeds with how many personalities there are in the world. But at the end of the day, if we look to write characters, and this is something that I have said for years, because I've always hated the term, I want to wake up tomorrow a better man than I am today. I've hated that term because I don't know one man on the planet that actually consciously works on who they are when they sleep.
You can't do it while you're sleeping.
Yeah, I've changed it. And this is actually something that
you can go to bed better than you were the day before.
But that's exactly where I'm going.
Yeah,
because this is something I've said since I think I was a teenager. I don't know. I've talked with some people that I've known for many years, and they have told me that I have said this since they've known me, and they have known me since I was at least in my early 20s. But at the end of the day, the best way to tell a story, I think, is to write a character who just believes in going to bed at night a better person than they were when they woke up that morning. And that's really broad. Well, what do you mean? Well, I don't know. Wake your person up in the morning. Did he want to drink ale the second that he woke up? Because you're writing a fantasy story, and in fantasy stories we have ale and mead and all that stuff. Well, maybe he doesn't go for an ale. Maybe he fights for something that day. But a person who just wants to be better when they go to bed than they were when they woke up as.
So there's another option here. If you go to bed after making the world a better place.
Yeah. I mean, that's called victory. All right.
Well, that's kind of the mindset that Detective Blackstone has in my Cyberpunk series. He's not out to change himself, but he's the one that goes down to the ghetto that the rest of the police officers ignore. And he goes and helps people because it's the right thing to do. And it is an endless, thankless task where basically everyone hates him for being a police officer. But it's the right thing to do.
Interesting. I absolutely hate to do this, but I am fading rather rapidly and have been for about the last 30 minutes. So I am going to have to call it quits. And the chat can absolutely go after me for this. I'm gonna have to call it quits because I'm a bitch. And Jake, I know you will in my gilded, because I see you in my gilded. But I'm going to start the goodbyes for the evening.
We gave no love to the chat.
I was gonna say no love to the chat. Poor chat.
We will have to give love to the chat. I said I'm going to start my goodbyes. I'm going to do the goodbyes. So I'm going to start. So, chat, if you have questions for James Krake, I'm going to do my best to do another 10 minutes because I'm literally about to pass out as I sit here. I am extraordinarily tired. So,
and drunk.
Chat, if you have questions, let me know. Let Jake know. And if you guys do not have questions, do not leave. Do not leave before you go and you buy James Crake's new book, Infinite Money Glitch, and feed River a treat.
Yes.
You guys are absolutely horrible people if you don't feed River a treat.
It's all about River. Not about Jake.
She's adorable. She is a sweetheart. I love Labs. Oh, doggo dead.
Yeah.
Finally sleeping.
Yeah, it's going up on midnight here.
Oh, yes, it is.
No, yep. I get it. I'm
This
not a
is my
lightweight.
Friday
Matt
night every
Hatter.
night, James.
I am not a lightweight, good sir. I've been up since, 5 o'clock this morning.
I've had 3 glasses of that Glenlivet, man. Whew.
Oh, dude, Glenlivet's so good. If you get a good Glen, one of my personal favorites is the Glenlivet 18 year. Oh, the Glenlivet 18 is really good.
Oh yeah. Oh, it is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a question here.
Oh,
Question.
no.
Trimming.
James.
I am not fastidious about trimming my beard, but it doesn't grow out well. I wish it did. That's my answer.
I saw Tim Allen asked about made a joke about the Tractor Supply buckets. So if anybody wants some exciting behind the scenes footage,
early on in the
I know.
stream, good cat.
I know, but I posted a picture in your Gilded a while back just to show your Gilded. There's behind the scenes footage over there. So
yes, that's fantastic.
of my extremely high tech arrangement.
Yes.
So
extremely
enjoying a drink with Crazy's Gilded to get behind the scenes footage of Richard's closet hallway.
My closet home.
The closet buckets. The closet buckets are a thing.
But
I guess I'm not an interesting guy to ask questions of. I'm sorry.
Well, I think
the beard question was pretty relevant.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think we went over a lot of things pretty thoroughly, and I'm excited about your books for sure. So I have not gotten a chance to read Ship of Fools, but I've got that on my on the Kindle, so that's
sweet
in the lineup. But now I'm kind of wanting to.
Yeah, they're all on my list.
Yeah, now I'm wanting to like skip ahead and read Infinite Money Glitch now after having heard of it. So
dude, it's Infinite Money Glitch is really good. I will say this. James. Unfortunate mistake of deciding to choose the Friday where Elon Musk apparently is revealing all of the Twitter stuff that we already
it's kind
knew.
of a wild week. There's probably a lot of political podcasts. Everybody's
I was watching that and I'm like, yeah, but we like already knew all this, and they're like, did you know that Twitter did this thing? I'm like, yeah, like I literally knew that. Like, dude, everybody on Twitter is all about the Elon Musk like revealing the Hunter Biden laptop. I'm like,
yeah, I read Taibbi's twit thread or whatever that's called, and I was just like, literally, we knew this 3.5 years ago or 2 years ago, or whenever it happened. Like,
and they're just like, but it's confirmed by the Twitter. I'm like, yeah, but like we already knew this.
Yep.
But like, I have been told that Iron Age Nights will compete with Temple Salty Cracker, Friday Night Tights, and then just anything else that decides to happen on a Friday night period. So I apologize. I'm so sorry.
We tried to control all global events to make this work out better, but it just didn't happen this week. So
you need to work on your conspiracies, guys.
Yeah, normally I'm in charge of the conspiracies, but I took a vacation this week and it all fell apart.
Yeah, Richard was away in a place where he had no internet, so I was
texting Kanye before, and then I went on vacation. He just went totally. He went off the chain, and I was trying to tell him.
Yeah, man, come on.
That was the dumbest. That was the most insane rap I've seen in a while.
All right.
Hey,
Mr. Royce is about to fall asleep in his chair.
Yeah,
I want to stress to everyone listening to this video right now that word of mouth genuinely is the best marketing.
It really is.
That's why I'm here.
We're all here.
If you give my books a try and you like them, please tell other people. And that goes for every indie author that you touch. If you like it, tell people.
Write a review. Maybe post it on Iron Age Media. Just saying.
You get algorithmically suppressed if you don't get enough reviews.
No, and the one thing that I want, what we're doing here is, while other channels are out there talking about how the old media this, the old media that, they did Star Wars wrong, they did this new, they did this thing that I go, no. I am tired of talking about these companies that are ruining IPs. I want to talk about the IPs that are good, that are coming out. And guess what?
Yes, sir.
I've got an author here on my channel right now who's writing good things. And it's fantastic. I'm having a good time with it. And I want to share that. But and I want everybody to share this live stream with everybody that they know, because God forbid we get somebody away from the rings of power or whatever the hell they're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Willow.
Oh yeah, Willow. That's the latest thing, isn't it?
What the hell? I don't know what that is.
Are you kidding me?
Well, the new one kind of snuck up out of nowhere, I felt like, but I don't really pay much attention. But anyway, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, if you don't know the original Willow, I'm gonna have to reach to the screen and slap you.
That's fine. I'm okay with it. I've already told you guys I'm an idiot, and none of you don't listen.
It's a cheesy B fantasy movie from the 80s, man. I would have expected.
Dude, I was born in 91.
Oh,
yeah,
just saying thing. It's terrible.
I was born in 91. I am at least 50 years younger than you. I don't know. My generation can't math.
50 years younger than me.
My generation
do that Matt Damon old man transformation right here live on air.
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. Well,
jeez.
Let's do it this way. Let's do the sign-offs.
Oh yeah. It's outro time. I get to dance and nobody can see it.
Oh. Mr. Daniel P. Riley, we'll go with you first, just because.
Oh, fine. Everybody can find me on Twitter at Mr. DP Riley, or you can check out my website, whimsyland.org, where everything exists. And hopefully I'll be adding something new to it. I've been talking with a bunch of artists, trying to get some new illustrations designed, not just for Tales of Halcyon, but also for the continuations of Legacy of Heroes. A lot of exciting stuff coming up in the next couple of months for my superhero series.
I've been seeing all the posts on Twitter too. I'm actually really excited for that.
Super cool stuff. I am really stoked.
It looks good what you're coming up with. All right. Mr. James Krake, the writer of Infinite Money Glitch. When does that book come out, and how do you want to sign off?
I mean, that's my third novel. You can pre-order it now, and Amazon will probably deliver it to your doorstep on Monday if you pre-order it right now.
True.
December 5th, it comes out. And if you want to find more by me, I have jameskrake.com as my website, and everything I've released is available there. There's advanced chapters and links and a few opinion pieces, possibly. I'm eventually going to upload some craft essays if you're a writer and you want to see some deeper insight to how I think stories should technically be written. Yeah. Please tell your friends if you like my stuff.
I am doing that. I am doing that right now.
You are. Thank you.
I'm having a good day. No, like I'm talking with my gamer buddies. I'm like, guys, like if you like I know you guys, you're gamers. Like, I promise you, they would probably get this stuff more than I would. And I've been telling them about it. So Richard with Mr. and Iron Age Media, how are you doing?
Very good. As always, it's ironage.media. Stay up to date on everything that's going on with the Iron Age, or at least what I get hold of, my little corner of it. I saw Ricky Rat Comics ask if I'm still uploading prompts, and I've been on vacation for the past week, so all the prompts and everything that I received in the past week or so have not been updated because I'm just leaving all that on my desktop. I'm just working from a remote laptop, and I'm not. It'll get done this weekend. You'll see the new prompt.
He hasn't answered our group chat at all. There was one group chat where he was like, "Help! Send an SOS. No internet connection."
I climbed on.
This goes through.
To a hill.
It went through. We sent him messages back. We heard nothing back. We assumed he died, and here he is.
It got so bad, Royce forgot he was on vacation.
I did actually. I'm not gonna lie. I totally fucking.
Well, to be fair, you're probably drinking at the time, right?
I'm not gonna lie to you. The birthday stream was probably a little bit more than I could handle at my age.
You're over 30 now, so you know.
I know.
That drinking hits a little different now.
Yeah. The birthday. That one was bad. That was probably one of the. I was like, I was listening to tunes and pounding beers before I went on stream, and then I went on stream and I was like, how am I gonna do this?
If y'all think it was bad this year, wait until next year, because I'm actually going to be prepared for that one.
Oh no, I don't know.
Oh yes,
y'all are gonna like organize like a drinking stream, and I don't want to do that because that sounds like pain.
It's gonna be Royce's birthday, the death of Royce.
I was gonna say, yeah, we'll get a Boston Dynamics, one of those robots with a bunch of Jello shots just in the.
Nice.
You know, every time
Jello shots are terrible. Those are some of the worst things that mankind has ever come up with.
They're amazing.
Drinks and cigars, man.
No, the cigars. I could do. I'm out of cigars though. I actually need to go, and I need to hit Ron Rhymes up again and be like, "Hey, buddy, what do I need to buy?" Oh, dude, I had that white label, that 10-year white label. Oh,
I know. I'm so excited. I can't wait to leave to go smoke this.
So good, so good. But ladies and gentlemen, I will say this. I am out of time because I'm ready to fall asleep. James Krake, however, has a new book out on Monday called Infinite Money Glitch. You need to go find it and buy it. If you are definitely into the crass humor and the gamer knowledge, you guys need to go buy Infinite Money Glitch. It is going to be absolutely fantastic. And how do I know this? Because I have it. Mm-hmm. I in fact have it right here, and I have been reading it, and I have actually been laughing at it because it's actually quite funny. So good, sir. I congratulate you on the humor that you have put into that. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on Iron Age Nights number 7. I hope to see you on Iron Age Nights. Oh my God, I'm already there. I can't talk. Iron Age Nights number 8. We'll see you next week, ladies and gentlemen. Just stop it. You guys are a bunch of degenerates, and you know you are. You don't even.
I have an excuse to
play the outro music. Come on.
I'm trying. Okay, I'm.
Yeah, give me something to dance to.
Okay, so now we're at the outro. In the middle of this stream, I learned that
just always talk the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned these timelines twist offs. because I tried to open one with another bottle and shattered the bottle in my hands.
Oh no!
Yeah, no, I'm literally like bleeding, and I have glass shards all over the place. I need to like vacuum this now.
Oh my gosh.
It's a good first a drink with crazy there.
Yeah. True. Blooded and everything.
Just say, are you the first person to break a glass? Yeah, I think you might be. That's the position of honor.
Yeah, I
why
haven't broken
the
a glass
previous
yet.
6?
Chat's not freaking out this time, I tell you. They've gotten they're wised up to our habits here.
Oh, come on, chat. We love you.
Good night,
React
chat.
to us. That's what we're for.
And poor Sam Rogers just jumped on right as we're winding things up, but that's what you get for being Australian. Sorry, dude.
Yeah.
You
At least you
always
can watch
rewind.
it.
I think Royce genuinely fell asleep over that.
No, I'm here. I just can't
there
hear
you
you
go.
guys. No, I just can't hear you guys.
I'm waiting for
hello,
one day
wife.
where all we hear is just.
I can't hear you either. I can't hear them. I can't hear you.
He's lying. He can hear us just fine.
I can't. It's life is confusing right now when you're tired. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We'll see you next Friday on Iron Age Nights number 8.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.